I'm very happy to be present and to invite you to this little conversation regarding the migrants. It is very important to recall what Gandhiji did for the concept of development, the theory of development in India. His understanding was that India should develop village-centered economy, and therefore it is kind of what he called an oceanic circle centered around villages, each village tied up to the other village and growing into larger unit and then entering into the whole nation. Therefore, that kind of an oceanic circle development will not cause disruption of people and their livelihood. They will not be displaced, they will be located where they are. And therefore, he envisaged what we call Sarvodaya, development for all, but development for all with Antyodaya, development of the least and the last ones. Of course, that concept of Gandhiji was so idealistic, so much so today all the villages are dependent on the cities for their livelihood, especially for the employment. And if you look at any one of the cities, we saw that in our history, they are built by the sweat and blood of migrant laborers. Because the migrant workers are cheap labor. Now, these people built up our cities and townships, and buildings and bridges. But we saw what happened at the beginning of the lockdown, the pandemic. It was the most pathetic scene to watch. Hundreds and thousands of people on the main line, on the road, the national highways, walking miles and miles without any support, with their bag and baggages, their children. And this movement of people was so dehumanizing act. And it is in that context now, and especially on Gandhi Jayanti Day, we want to recommit ourselves to bring this issue into the forefront. And we have all the resources available in the world to help these migrant laborers. And we have seen that in our institutions, in our communities, not only Jesuit communities, but all across the world, across the India. Many NGOs, many people, many alumni associations, men and women came forward to help the migrant laborers. We can take this forward in a way that can be a pan-India movement, embracing other NGOs, other partners. Let it be a collaborative venture, proposing a model that would be imitable, that could be multiplied, that could be modeled by other people as well.
We are happy as JEA to be part of whatever endeavor we are taking up for the benefit of the migrant workers. So lakhs of migrant workers during the COVID-19 pandemic have faced multiple hardships with all the working places, factories and other places have shut down due to the lockdown imposed in this country. We know millions of migrant workers had to deal with the loss of income, food shortages, and uncertainty about their future following this. Many of them and their families went hungry all over India. And we have seen the pathetic situation. Thousands of them began walking back home with no means of transport during the lockdown. In response to this pathetic situation, all our Jesuit schools were mobilized to various measures to help them, and in some places arrange transport for them. It was a response to the call of the second UAP, that is walking with the marginalized. In collaboration with the JAI and our teachers and parents, our schools did immediate relief measures. However, we need to plan out for the long-term help for the migrants. We fully cooperate with the JRH in their endeavors to help the migrants. And this will be a very good networking for all our schools. We will also look for more sustainable school policy to accommodate more of migrant students in our schools, especially our neighboring areas. In our schools, we will organize more awareness programs too in the coming days. And I think, as Gandhiji says, we need to have the criterion for discernment looking at these migrant workers in the country. And I'm sure that the coming days we will network, collaborate, and make these things happen. And that is what the JEA is looking for in hand holding with you, JRH.
One of the dimensions that we kept throughout the studies in mind is to reach out to the last and the least, because that's what Gandhi said, Sarvodaya through Antyodaya. And he linked this concept very well, saying,
the migrant crisis has really revealed the soft underbelly of our whole labor economy. We never saw these people, they were invisible until the crisis came. But the crisis was not just COVID, the crisis was the lockdown. The lockdown gave them 4 hours to prepare their departure. They had to leave because they were daily wage workers and they had no money and no place to stay.
Most of our colleges were quite involved in the relief work, particularly in the major cities of Chennai, Bangalore, Mangalore, Bombay, Calcutta, these places like that. So they were involved in collecting relief materials and distributing to the migrants who are on the verge of utter poverty. Of course, most of our colleges had some webinars, some discussions based on this issue, particularly the situation of the migrants. And we also find that a number of some studies shows that the children are the most affected. Young people, though their fatality rate was very low, but children are the most affected people, not during the COVID period, but post-COVID period will be most disastrous for them. The number of dropouts, both in the schools and colleges, because parents have no money. Therefore, children will definitely drop out. Almost 75% of our students in the self-financing colleges ask for the fees payment in installments, and 25% have asked for either reduction or cancellation or giving some scholarships. This is the situation, the self-financing, because half of our colleges are self-financing institutions. So it is going to affect the middle class, lower middle class, and the poor people very drastically, particularly what is happening now. So therefore, we all have a great role, not only to give them food and some shelter, medical facilities, nutrition aspect, also the educational facilities. Otherwise, we will have a generation of people who are illiterate, as used to be in the 20 years back. We need to work in a very holistic way so that we can help the migrants in the coming generation, particularly our commitment to the poor as we walk with them, also accompany the young people.
The COVID-19 situation has brought to or highlighted some of the major issues of migrants nationally. So the COVID-19 has called us, or I would say a clarion call for us, for all of us, to make a collective action, collective effort to mitigate the sufferings of these migrants. During the lockdown time, all over India, we had concerted efforts to reach out to the migrants. I would say that many of us, when it was locked down, we unlocked ourselves. Personally, I would say that was the time I traveled the most physically, and also reached out to the migrants through the phone calls. So since we had given immediately within 3 days of the lockdown declared, we gave around 9 phone numbers in different parts of India so that the migrants could reach out to us, so that we can link to our own institutional support, our own networks, our own movements all over India, so that we could link and connect the migrants.
Sudden unplanned lockdown due to the COVID crisis impacted vulnerable groups like the migrants the most. Of the many groups that responded to the cry of the migrants, SWAN stands out. SWAN stands for Stranded Workers Action Network. Three of the core committee members of the Department of Interreligious Studies of St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, were part of the pioneering group of volunteers from Right to Food and Right to Work campaigns. These three valiant swan girls worked tirelessly from the last week of March, right from the beginning of the lockdown. They listened, comforted, counseled, and supported as many stranded migrant families as they could across the nation. They answered distress phone calls as government helplines did not respond. They connected and networked with local government and non-governmental agencies across the states to provide dry ration, medical packets, and daily essentials to the stranded migrants. They also supported the families to travel back to their villages.
When we did interview of the migrants, we contacted the quarantine centers. We kept the migrants who were kept outside the villages, maybe in the Dalit belt, tribal belt, who were not allowed. Then went into remote corners of the villages. Those voices are heard, reflected, analyzed, and this study brings out what is the lone voice that is remote, which is even neglected or under lockdown. Those voices are brought so that it becomes voice after migrant humanity. As there has been huge reverse migration, it required a different thinking altogether. How can we accompany these reverse migrants? Caritas India and IGSSS, both based in Delhi, they approached ISI Bangalore and they asked me to lead a study. And in a matter of 2 months' time, we managed to reach out to 47 districts in North and Northeast, reaching out to about 700 plus migrants and 100 stakeholders just to listen to them. What are they? How are they? What is their experience? What are their needs? Especially looking at their own future in terms of livelihoods and skills developments. Yes, the relief and rehabilitation is a need. That's a mercy, works of mercy. We need to do it, but we also need to look beyond that. What are we asked to do?
Walking with the excluded is one of the prime mottos of the Jesuits. And true to their spirit, the Jesuits have been reaching out to the migrants throughout the lockdown period in all ways possible. They had opened community kitchens, provided dry rations, hot meals. They had opened their schools and colleges to the homeless migrants. They had reached out to stranded migrants through helplines, and in so many countless ways they had been continuously reaching out to the migrants, the poor migrants. The suffering of the migrants has actually faded from the public memory, but the Jesuits have remained faithful and true to their mission and are still continuing to reach out to the migrants, walk with the migrants, and are still standing by the migrants.
The pandemic and the lockdown has affected all of us, but the most affected are the migrants. Most of them lost their livelihood and their homes. They were forced to return to their village out of despair. The Jesuits all over India has reached out to the distressed migrants through many interventions. They have opened almost 20 community kitchens. Over 3.5 lakh people are provided with dry ration. Nearly 1 lakh distressed migrants are helped through helplines. Other interventions were masks, sanitizers distribution, financial aid, medical aid, shelter homes, and quarantine centers. The Jesuits are continuing to help the migrants who have returned from cities.
The state of Tamil Nadu hosts about 1.5 to 2 million interstate migrant workers. 51% of them have been working in the 4 surrounding districts of Chennai. Hence, the Jesuit Chennai province reached them under the organizational name Jesuit Migrant Service, JMS, with the motto to be and to accompany since 2015. Inspired by the generous love and compassion, Jesuit Migrant Service is an organization with a mission to accompany, serve, and advocate on behalf of migrants and other disadvantaged persons, communities, that they may heal, learn, and determine their own future. The primary interventions and mediations of the JMS include ensuring fair wages, legal assistance, education of migrant children, medical help, networking with government and non-government agencies for the rights of migrants, attending to their spiritual needs, organizing sensitization programs, shelter homes for the homeless migrants, rescue of bonded and trafficked migrant workers, and fellowship gatherings on festive days, including an annual gathering of them for a day of interaction and cultural extravaganza and fellowship meal. Interventions of JMS during COVID-19. Having noticed the unprecedented crisis and the struggle of the migrant workers, JMS, in collaboration with Loyola Institutions Chennai, sprang into action in different ways. The shelter homes run by JMS accommodated 300 stranded migrants in Chennai city, protected them from coronavirus infection, and nourished them with healthy diet, and served as transit homes until they had found some ways to reach their homes. The JMS staff and volunteers counseled the stranded, disturbed, and battered migrant workers through helpline services to mitigate the panic and shock and ensured protection from further attacks. The sick migrants were accompanied to the health centers and were rendered timely assistance. More than 1,000 stranded migrant workers elsewhere were comforted in collaboration with the like-minded NGOs. The migrants who wanted to return their hometown were helped to book trains, reach railway stations on time. JMS experienced the generosity and committed responsibility of Loyola Institutions to reach the stranded and starving migrants with dry food ration in the time of crisis. During the spread of virus infection, JMS reached out to 2,622 migrant families in civil districts of Chennai, Kanjipuram, Tiruvallur, and Chengalpet.
The migration itself is a very adverse moment that we can see. And at present, the women and the children of the migrants are very much affected, especially when they move from their native places to the destination states. Women and children are the vulnerable group that they suffer. So our experience with women and children are, we have in JMS 3 categories of children, that we have side schools, we have evening study centers, children those who are in brick chambers and construction sites, and children those who go to school. So some of them are dropouts, and we make them to, we place them in and the schools to continue their education. And we provide informal education too. And we also have for women self-help group, and then tailoring centers, and then we form them, we have seminar and sessions to make them aware of their own self-dignity, equality, and to fight for their rights. And we conduct awareness programs to make them leaders, and then they themselves come out of their own problems. And when they come together, they share their difficulties, their happy moments, and so on. And especially for migrant women, we see a lot of sanitary problems, and they experience a lot of health issues due to long hours of work, long hours of standing, and then financial difficulty too, to take care of the family and the children. So we had been accompanying the migrant women for various illnesses to hospitals, and then we have been catering to their needs.
Our involvement with the migrants, it evolved and got unfolded as the lockdown took different shapes. The first we had the first phase, we did not know about our involvement, our response, how far we can go, whether government will allow us to get involved in such program. So once we were in touch with the government officials, we were able to meet the people, do some survey, the most needy, those who came just walked miles from different places, especially from Delhi, from Punjab, from UP. Most of them walked. They walked in front of our house. We could see them going to the block or to the hospital. That way, the first our experience was first accept them, welcome them, or assure them that you are welcome, you are accepted, you are not a stranger. This is your homeland. You have come back to your own house. Our campus was converted into quarantine center at 3 phases, three times. We had around 375 people, 332 male and 43 females were accommodated with the children. That way we were able to listen to their stories.
So financial contributions we are trying to channelize through JRH for these migrants, because the migrant cause we will be able to push it through YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. So this will become a good exercise. So this is one of the areas which we are targeting, so that it will give us more penetration, and it will also make people aware of this the migrant problem. And not only that, it will be a permanent culmination for our JAI as well as for the other our institutions like JCH, higher education, and JRH. So this is our plan. In addition, many of our Jesuit alumni associations have been doing wonderful service for the migrants, especially Gujarat, Ranchi, so many areas, Chennai, they have been doing a wonderful work. So with this, we want to improve upon it, and we want to have more collaborative action with JRH, so that there's no duplication. In the sense, we want to converge and enhance the relief work rather than doing in pockets.
Jiviga is a mission of Kerala Jesuit Province established in 2011. When we come to the approach, we have a democratic, participatory, non-institutional and right-based approach. That's what we mainly focus. A lot of human rights violations are going on among interstate migrants. So we take up that issues and then follow it up until they get justice. The legal aid is the main major area that we focus on. Those who have affected by wage theft, problems during the work site, we help them. Secondly, we have advocacy, research and training. And third is educational and welfare support. We do help the children to get into our schools, especially schools of Kerala. The family who are coming from there with the families, they have children and they settle here, we help them. And welfare support means government of Kerala has got a lot of programs, welfare programs, such as Awas and so on. So we help them. Another fourth area is health. Accident cases coming, we help them. And another area is media and culture. We celebrate their festivals. We have a center called Jiviga Kala Kendra, which promote their culture, especially of Orissa people. We come up with various traditional programs. Another major area is alliance building. We have an organization called PRISM, People for the Rights of Interstate Migrants. It's where we network with various other NGOs and government organizations.
Migrants are citizens, so they have the constitutional rights, privileges enshrined in the book. If the migrants who have got the rights are going through this much suffering, unprecedented level, unimaginable level, and we have seen it in the media, and they are also going through now back to the industries. If these people are going through this much, what would be the state of suffering of the refugees who have no citizenship rights? This is how we have to compare. And both of them are going through adverse situation because of COVID. And this has increased the marginalization and pre-existing vulnerability of the migrants as well as internally displaced people and refugees. And as JRS and the Jesuits and the other civil society members have responded to these people in terms of giving the dry ration and the house rent and some educational materials.
Laborers are the most important asset of the nation because they are the ones who are the backbone of our economy. Especially the laborers are the ones who do the great work. Now, when it comes to a situation of migrants are in a way, they are in a double difficulties. They have to go to another place and earn, and we have seen the situation during the lockdown period. Now what happens is that whenever, in order to suit our other nation or the economy, even we are not giving their due share. Even the laws are amended in such a way, are in a way against them. So therefore what we need to do is that these laws or the amendment that coming, they should be pro-laborers, and it must help them to demand and claim their rights. Otherwise what will happen is that these laborers will be in a great difficulty. Therefore the humane and the working conditions of the laborers must be taken into consideration when we place them in the legal framework.
When this issue came up, I was in Guwahati, Assam. In the beginning, what we did is we started helping the migrant workers and the beggars very specially through feeding them. So every day we would cook about 250 packets of food, go around and distribute in Guwahati city. That's one. Then we also came to know through the DC that there are some migrant families who require help. So we prepared ration kits and supported 115 families here in Guwahati who are the migrant workers. So this is our initial initiative that we embarked on. Then later we got calls from different places to help the migrant workers who are stranded. So we helped about 18 migrant workers. Some of them from Tripura to go to Ranchi. Some we got them back from Mumbai to Northeast, from Tamil Nadu to Northeast, and also from Assam to Nagaland. So that way we helped about 18 migrant workers concretely. Now what we are thinking about is to build the livelihood of the people wherever it is possible. At least about 30 villages from the other villages that we are working. That is what we are planning.
During this COVID time, we could act as a helpline. That was one of the major help we could provide them. We were act as a link, and we could provide them counseling, awareness programs. And I would like to express again the great support from JRH, distribution of kits, food kits, and masks, sanitizer and hand washing. That project is actually going on now. These are in a nutshell, these are the major activities that we do and we are doing at present.
What we need is compassion. That's the last thing we seem to have. If we felt more for these people, such a situation would never have arisen. And we cannot have a nation without compassion, because if you want to treat all citizens as equal, you must feel for them. If you don't, there will be no equality, fraternity, and liberty. I would appeal to everyone that we start a society for compassion, that we build a society on a culture of compassion, rather than try to do this scheme or that scheme. The basic foundation is feeling for the other person.
Our future plan is for the children is to make them become leaders through children's parliament. And then awareness programs be conducted to continue their studies, not to be dropped out, so that when they go to their state, they may have a brightful future. And then our plan for women is bringing up migrant women movement, so that they would be able to bring their difficulties and speak for themselves, and then to bring out self-dignity, equality in the workplaces and at home. And then they may also become entrepreneurs through different small-scale works that they do, being at home or the collective. So this is our motto for the future for our migrant women and migrant children.
Our call, I feel, is not only to speak for the migrants, but to walk with them, and the migrants' voice gets increasingly being amplified, and every one of them, because that's the one that which moved our empathy, solidarity, support. If their voice is amplified and heard, I'm sure we, those who are not exactly most of the migrants, but we will become more human, and their cause, they will become subjects of their own change, of their own history. That is the ultimate sort of a purpose with which we will be doing advocacy, so that they occupy the driver's seat in deciding, in defining their own destiny. And we are with them, walking with them in this journey. That's the purpose for which we are working.
It is also a right time for us to walk with the people, to march with them, to accompany them, and to move ahead to the path of freedom. There is a need to respond to the cry of the migrants. Whatever way we could respond, like Gandhiji responded according to his time. So we are with the poor people, we are with the migrants, so we march ahead together.
It is the opportune time. We need to act upon collectively, so that we can cater into the distress calls of the migrants nationally, and we can become a place or institution or organization setup where migrants can look forward to, and the migrants can trust that we will be supporting them. We are with the migrants and we are working with them, and we need to accompany them for their rights and entitlements. That is the message I would like to give. And Gandhi would be very happy if these migrants, all of them are Indian citizens, but when they move one place to the other, they are considered as the other, almost like a foreigner. Instead of that, they are accepted and they are accompanied, and their rights and entitlements are kept or they are given. In that situation, Gandhi will be very happy that we are all one. We need to walk with them, and they are our brothers and sisters. These migrant brothers and sisters are our brothers and sisters, and all the constitutional rights they too supposed to get. So we need to fight for their rights. That is the message I would like to give. Thank you.